Give me 1 second. Let me see how I could just share our contents here. Octavian and Ahmed, thank you. I think we just need to make it a public link for this video.
Doing now.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, we're just going to give a minute. And then the way that this is going to work, for those of you who were at the last webinar, so there's so much information that we want to cover. And what we decided to do was make a professional video that's edited, gets right to the point of everything that we need. It's going to be about 15 minutes long. We're going to go over that video. If you have any questions on what we're posting, you could share it directly in the chat. That's one of the benefits of having something pre-recorded. We could answer that live. After that video, we're going to do a full 40 minutes of Q&A directly with Nicholas. We have a bunch of questions prepared. And at the same time, any questions that are asked in the chat, we're going to try to really get to all of them. So Octavian just mentioned that the video is public, which means I can go ahead and share my screen and we can begin. All right, here we are. Let's just bring this all the way back and begin.
I got AI to do my job. This was one less thing I needed to do in my stressful life as a fractional CFO. See, every month I need to explain to my clients what's happening in their business. And it usually involves an email like this. Hi, John. Please see attached CFO report for your company. And here's a quick summary of our financial performance. Then I break things down and such. And finally, I attach some snapshots. But here's the deal. That email takes me at least 10 minutes just to type up. Oh, and then actually getting these insights, probably another 20 minutes of data analysis. So I sought out to see if I could get AI to do it for me. And I was amazed. It pretty much could. And it started with me getting this data to AI. And I wasn't really sure how to do this. I first tried ChatGPT's voice command. Prepare a CFO report for my client.
Sorry, mate. Can't help you with that one.
It wasn't as cool as it looked. Oh, and Siri and Alexa, that was a lost cause. Hey Siri, write me a CFO report that makes me sound smart for my client.
Sorry, I wasn't able to locate that.
So then I thought I would type it up, but typing it out was really time consuming. This was the whole point of using AI. And then I remembered that ChatGPT knew how to read images. So if I send ChatGPT just the 2 right snapshots, it can do my job for me. So I tested it out with these 2 dashboards and it worked. With just 2 pictures, I had a data assistant. And now I just needed to write the perfect prompt to have it sound just like me. But first, you're probably wondering how I created these 2 dashboards. Well, it's actually pretty simple. Well, I actually have separate videos available on both of these that you can find right over here. But let me just share some commentary to refresh your memory on how exactly I built this. So here we have the KPI dashboard. And what I did was I first just changed the background color to give it a nice little background on the top. And then I entered in a special font called Poppins to allow me to create this title. I now have this custom shape that I added as well. And I changed the outline for the weight as such. Now I named this October. You notice that I have a little bit of a quotation here because if I remove that quotation, watch what happens. It'll change the actual format. Excel will automatically convert it to date, which we don't want. Okay, then I just added another shape over here. This time it was a blue shape and it wasn't as thick as this one. I just held down Shift to create all of that. Okay, now the way that I created these KPI boxes, so I just selected all of these cells and then I created an outside border by clicking this button over here. All right, then I created a thin line here and I just shaded that in to our blue. Now I have this as a merge cell called revenue. This is a merge cell for the actual value. This showcases the difference compared to September 2024. Another merge cell here and a merge cell here for the percentage difference. Then I just copy and pasted this information to all of these other boxes. And I just shrunk down these columns over here. And that's how I built this KPI dashboard. Now, if you want to know how I built the budget versus actual dashboard, I'll show you that in a sec. But before I do, you can actually grab both of these templates and dozens more with the Model Wiz plugin. So what's really cool is that once you have the template selected, selected, you can click on download template, and then you'll get this pop-up where you can customize the dates and you can change the specific values. So let's just call this EBITDA instead of net income. And then when you click on download, all of your custom edits will be saved and shot directly into your Excel file as such. Now, this isn't some random tool out there. This is actually our tool that we built after hundreds of hours carefully crafting the best dashboards. And you can get access to all of these directly in your Excel file with just a few clicks of a button. We have tons of new features in the pipeline, like connecting your data to your accounting software and building incredible world-class forecasts and financial models. You can check all that out at modelwiz.com. And now let's go over how to build this budget versus actuals template. All right, so for this template, I did something similar where I have this title as such and the actual period. Then I have budget, actuals, the dollar actual, and the percentage actual. So I have these important KPIs. This is pretty much a summarized P&L. And then I have cash flows and headcount as well. So I entered in the budget values and the actual values. And then for the variance, I took actual minus budget for revenue and any income accounts like net operating income, net other income, and so forth. The reason for that is I want to show positive variances if it's a good variance and negative variances if it's a bad variance. So I did the opposite for expense accounts. So as you can see over here, I took our budget value minus our actual value. Because we had more expenses, I want to show that as a bad thing, which is negative. So that's how I populated this over here. And then for the percentage column, what I did was I just took this amount divided by this amount. But here's the key. I did two other things. I wrapped this around an if error statement in case we have a 0. We don't want to return an error, so it'll just return 0. And then I also put this absolute. Watch what happens when I remove this absolute over here. Actually, as you can see, the absolute right now isn't set up properly. So I'm going to instead put the absolute over here, and then I'll click on enter. So this is now correct. I have a positive variance, which should be a positive percentage. When I undo that, this shows as negative because a positive divided by a negative will get me a negative. Okay, now the last thing I want to show you on how I built this dashboard, these donut charts over here, the way that I did that was I created this section here. The way donut charts work is you in essence need at least 2 series. One series to be shaded in, the other series to not be shaded in. But you'll notice that I have green over here for positive values and blue for negative values. So what I did was I created this formula that said, if this value is positive, give me the amount here and the inverse of the amount over here. If it's negative, well, then give me the amount here and the inverse as such. So this will allow us to then create a donut chart with all 4 of these series. Whenever this changes, watch what happens. If I just change this to a minus 5%, you'll notice that this changes to blue and the information just flipped over here. So this section now over here, I just populated the actual text that went inside the donut chart. So I wrapped this around the text function so that we could actually pull it in as a percentage. And then I said, if it's a positive variance, write the word savings after a space. Otherwise, write the words miss. So again, if I change this to minus 5%, this goes to minus 5% miss as such. So everything is entirely dynamic.
All right, I just wanted to pause over there. So we split this video in essence into 2 parts. The first part of the video is really just understanding how to get your information over to AI. And again, there are a number of different ways that you can do it. Like you saw, I tried the voice prompt, but if you think about it, there's a lot of information I'm going to have to explain via voice prompt to be able to get this data analysis to work. And I could type up the information also, but that would also take a lot of time. Now, Nicholas, one of the things when we get into the Q&A, I'm curious is if you have a way in which you have an Excel file that you understand that you can easily upload this to AI. And I know that Microsoft is working on Copilot, and I expect them to eventually get there. But the approach that we're taking over here is my favorite because it really just involves 2 snapshots that ultimately you're going to be sharing anyway with the client. And this is all part of a financial model that you should have that should allow people to understand where the company has been, their history, their actuals, where the company is going. And with just a few levers, you could understand all sorts of different variations of what the future can look like. And ideally, with that financial model, you have these dashboards that you can easily prepare at a board report, a management report, or an email as such. So being able to reuse what we're already using in our reporting to then get our data assistant to share all of our answers, that is what we were going for. But before you could actually get your data system to give all those answers, you want to really design the perfect prompt. And for that, I'm really excited to get into the second part of our video where we get Nicholas's help in designing that prompt.
Now that I have my dashboards ready, I just need to design the perfect prompt. And for that, I have the perfect person to get in touch with, Nicholas Boucher, who's the leading expert in AI in finance. Nicholas, give us a hand.
Hi, Josh. Thank you that you're asking me this question because I really believe in finance, we should use AI much more. And the easiest tool to use AI is using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. And with your example, where we want to replace a part of the task that us in finance, we have to do almost every month or every week, which is write commentaries. This is a really good example because you can see that how the LLM can write faster than us and also better. So let's take your example. So here I have the first dashboard where we see the results for October 2024. And here is the other dashboard where we see the budget versus actuals. And what we did is screenshots of these two dashboards to have this as image. Now let's go into ChatGPT to see how we can use this information to write our summary for our client. So now I am in ChatGPT, and in ChatGPT for my prompting, I will use my framework, which is the CSI and FBI. If you don't know my framework, well, CSI is for context, specific, and instruction. So here I'm going to show you after, in our case, how we are going to use that. So FBI is for format, blueprint, and identity. So now I am inside ChatGPT, and let's use the CSI FBI to prompt ChatGPT. So the context, I am a fractional CFO. And then what is specific, what is our problem? I need to draft the monthly performance review email to my client called John. And we say that it's a SaaS company because it helps also to improve the output. Now the instruction for the I of CSI is help me draft a really short email because we know people don't really like long emails, summarizing the performance. And now that I have the CSI, I will start the FBI part where I will fine tune the prompt by explaining what type of format do I expect. So here I will say use bullet points and short direct sentences. And I will even be more specific saying present the key figures in a clear and concise manner, where each figure is immediately followed by a brief explanation of the cause or contributing factors. Finish with points of attentions and recommendations. So now that we have this, what we can even do is the I of FBI is the identity, draft it like a top 1% fractional CFO. And then I will add the two images that are here. And I will also say use the two attachments. So to recap, we have the CSI FBI with the C, the context. I am a fractional CFO. What is specific, we need to draft the monthly performance review email to the client called John. And the instruction, help me draft a really short email summarizing the performance. Then we have the FBI part where we are going to be specific about the format here. And the blueprint also to finish with point of attentions and recommendations. And then the I of FBI is identity. We are going to say to draft this like a top 1% fractional CFO. So let's see what ChatGPT can do for us. So we see that our email starts to be written. And like I wanted, we have short explanation about the reason for the changes. So you see, for example, here, increase in infrastructure. And then like I wanted, I have the points of attention and the recommendation. So overall, if I reduce a bit the size, we have our email here, which is quite short. If I want, I can also ask to reduce this to have less KPIs. And what I really like is to have the point of attentions and the recommendations. So you see, with the right prompt and with just feeding ChatGPT with these two screenshots, then I can make ChatGPT write for me. And then I just need to review the same way I will do with somebody from my team. So here, if you are asking about confidentiality, well, I am using ChatGPT Teams, so I have a contract with ChatGPT, and they say they don't train on my data. So it's like using a cloud solution. So Josh, what do you think about this? Is it something that is going to help you? Is it something that is going to help your audience?
It will. Yes.
Here, Josh, for you, your email in a few minutes. I hope it helps you.
I'm so amazed that AI can now do my job, and also a bit terrified that AI can now do my job. Does this mean I'm gonna get replaced? Are my clients gonna fire me? Well, for now, I'm not so worried about that. See, there's a lot that AI can't do. It can't get on the phone with one of my clients. It can't show up at a board meeting and present figures to investors or the board of directors, or help the CEO better run his or her business with advice that oftentimes numbers just can't even tell. Which is why it's so important to always upskill yourself. Stay up to date with what you can do and keep refining your craft. Oh, and network with others. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about my new fractional CFO community. Come and swap ideas with us, learn from other fractional CFOs as well as myself on how to best sell your services as a fractional CFO. Oh, and don't worry, if you don't have your own firm, we'll soon be opening up our community to finance and accounting professionals in just a few months. Check it out at yourcfoguy.com/community. Oh, and if you want to upskill yourself and create really good forecasts, you can always check out this video right here. I'm Josh, your CFO guy, and I'll catch you next time.
All right. I hope everyone enjoyed that session right there. Thanks for watching. Like I mentioned earlier, we now have 40 minutes of full Q&A with Nicholas, where we can go over all of our questions. Nicholas is a total geek when it comes to all of this AI, finance, and accounting stuff. And I'd be shocked if there's any question that anyone has here that he isn't familiar with. So I have a few questions prepared. I think I'll kick it off, but please do in the comments, definitely share all of your questions. And, I think the biggest question that we're getting, and this is what I initially had as well, was how do you do all this confidentially? Everyone knows that LLMs can do some incredible things, but they're petrified at the idea you may be having a fractional CFO business where you have a bunch of clients and you can't share their data, or maybe you work for a company or you'd be nervous if you found out that you share the data. How does that work, Nicholas? Is it fully secure with a premium plan with ChatGPT?
So I think really important is it's good that everybody is skeptical because it's new. So it's normal to be skeptical. And we heard a lot of interesting things that happened at the beginning. For example, the Samsung team was putting their code that was confidential because it was really strategic into ChatGPT. And at the time, ChatGPT didn't have really clarity on what they do with the data. So because of this, you can be sure that they are under scrutiny of everybody. And if you think about it, all of us, we are using tools that are cloud-based. For example, a lot of companies are using Google as their Gmail or Outlook from Microsoft. So a lot of your data are already in the cloud. And OpenAI, when you have a contract with them and you pay for it, they use the same type of security protocol that all of the other big companies like Google, Amazon with AWS, Microsoft with Azure, or any type of SaaS software you can think about. So what you need to do is, first, if you are an individual, you need to look at this page. I'm going to show you this page. And just have a look here. It's quite easy to understand even if you are not a security or IT specialist. But they explain what they do with your data and what are their security protocol. So you can look at consumer privacy. So that's the number one. And I can share the link also in the chat. So that's number one. If you want to use it for your company, then if you are here, you're in finance, probably you are not the expert of IT inside your company, but you could start informing yourself and understand how they use your data. And what I suggest is talk with your IT team, with your management, and already do the work of preparing this work, and show also that comparing to the tools you already use, you will see that those are exactly the same security protocol. So when you pay for ChatGPT, with either Teams, so the paid version, the Teams or the enterprise, they say that they don't train, so you opt out on the data. So that means they don't use your data for training, they only process the data like any other cloud solutions. So I think it's really important to make that clear, and I understand everybody who is scared of it because it was so much buzz about it, but think that is like any cloud solution. And today you also put a lot of confidential information inside your Gmail account, and Google has also to respect some security rules, the same way that OpenAI has to respect them. So do your own assessment. And as an example, to finish that, not all companies are the same. I was working for a company that has a contract with the Ministry of Defense of France, of Germany, and you can bet, and that was the rule, that nobody wanted that the information about the nuclear submarine of France was hosted somewhere else than in France. So, and that's like this. But if you have a company that is like a small company just without strategic information, you can use all of these cloud solutions as long as you have a contract with those companies.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that one, Nicholas. You know, when we were making this presentation and I shared the idea that we would show these dashboards and we would get an LLM to ultimately translate that information, you told me, I got to be honest, you're like a few months behind, maybe even like a year, I think you said. You're like, you know, what you could actually do with AI in finance and accounting is so much more powerful than what you're showing over here. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the use cases? How would you use AI in finance and accounting even more than what we just showed?
Yeah, so the example we did is we had already performed the analysis. You know, the dashboard was there. But actually, what you can do is do the analysis together with AI. And let me show you two examples. Let's start actually with one example where I think we'll talk to a lot of people, is about cohort analysis. So if I share my screen and you have here the cohort analysis coming normally. Yes. So here you see we want to know what is the behavior of our clients. And we want to know which clients are staying long, which clients are not staying long, based on when they join the company. So we have this data. And what I will do with this data, I will go into ChatGPT, and I have a paid version, so I can upload that. It's not training on my data. I will show you after how to do that without the paid version, without confidentiality problem. But you upload, and then you are going to ask help on doing the cohort analysis for you. So here, it's really important to have the right word. So here I said visually, because you will see what I get if I ask visually to have this analysis. So first, the upload worked. But what is happening is ChatGPT actually doesn't know how to read an Excel file. So what it does, it asks Python to do the work for you. So Python is reading the Excel file and telling to ChatGPT, in this Excel file, there are these 4 columns. And now, based on this, ChatGPT knows what to do because it has a big knowledge on the type of analysis and how to code to have the best graph to make a cohort analysis. And this is done actually in Python. So the back end behind is in Python, and you can audit it. So you can audit to understand how ChatGPT created this graph. And now, if you have been working in SaaS and you wanted to do this graph in Excel, how long would you need, Josh? Because you are like an Excel pro and guru, but how long do you think you will have needed for that?
Oh man, I think at least an hour would take me to put this together, if not more.
Exactly. So here, what is really important to understand is it helps us be much faster at preliminary analysis. But it still has like 4 problems with that. And one of the big one is on confidentiality of data. So let's think about that. We have 4 problems with this method. And the first one, so like I was saying, is confidentiality of data. But the second one that we have as problem is auditability. Like, do you imagine your boss needing to check your calculations? Well, your boss cannot access your chatbot. Your boss or the internal auditor or the external auditor, like, they cannot go inside your ChatGPT discussion to see if your work is done correctly. So then we have also another problem is large data, because ChatGPT right now doesn't really handle big data. And if you have big files, it will probably bug. So that's also a problem. And when we talk about AI, what we want is that it goes fast, that you can automate. But imagine having to do this at scale. So not for one company, but for 10 companies, and to do that every day. Do you imagine yourself like uploading the data, chatting to ChatGPT, then having the graph, then downloading the graph in a presentation? That's also not really efficient. So scalability is a problem. So for this, the solution is actually to go through the same process, where here, what we are going to ask is not the result, but we are going to ask the Python code to translate everything that happened inside ChatGPT and to get it outside and to put that in our confidential environment. So here, when I ask ChatGPT, how can I do that in my confidential environment, which is here, an example is Google Colab. It's like Google Doc, but for coding. And in Google Colab, if you have a Gmail account and Google Drive with your work, it's a good environment to code, and it's really easy. If you use more Microsoft, you have Azure Machine Learning or Visual Studio that you can also use. So back to ChatGPT, I got all of the code I can use, which will do exactly the same work that what I did in ChatGPT, but now I will do this work in my confidential environment. And I will upload my file, not in ChatGPT, but in my confidential environment. So now I'm uploading that there. And now that I've uploaded my file, I can just, in the code, change to say, where is this file? So I just give the path, and that's the only thing I need to do. And then I play. And when I play that, you can see that in a few seconds, I get exactly the same result. Exactly, yeah. So now I am not sharing my data with ChatGPT because I only got the code from ChatGPT. I am also having a notebook that I can save and where everybody can come and audit the work, because you can see the source of data, you can see the formula that happened, and you can see the result. Third, I can put much larger data because Python is the best tool actually to process large data. And fourth, you can scale that, because here I just need a tweak in the code to apply that to 100 files. And you could see it was just a play of a button to launch it. So that's the formula really to go from using AI just in ChatGPT to do your preliminary analysis. And if you cannot upload confidential data, you can just play with either fake data or just with conceptual data. And then after, transfer that in your own environment. And I showed you that with Python, but you can also ask the code, which will be formulas that you can use in Excel. And we can do an example after if you want.
Awesome. That was really great. We have a few questions very much related to what you just said that I'd love to quickly do before we go over all the other questions. Like I mentioned, continue posting your questions in the chat. I have 31 questions over here from so far what everyone mentioned. The two questions related to what you spoke about is, you said big data earlier. What is big data and how big is it?
So you know how an Excel file can only go to up to 1 million lines? So you have a lot of SaaS data that don't work, like they have much more than 1 million data. They're like, for me, I noticed that after 20 megabytes, it started really to be buggy. So, and I think if you start to upload 2-3 Excel files, that starts to not really be a good tool for that, to do that in ChatGPT. But you could start with your preliminary analysis with just a sample of the data or fake data to really like exert yourself, like to train yourself to get a consultant for free that will help you. And then after you go into production in your own environment, because that's where you can execute. You have your connections to create your slides. You have also the files where maybe other people need it for their work.
Awesome. And then one more question on what you just shared. Can you bring the code that you were showing into Jupyter Notes?
Yes. So Python is tool agnostic, meaning that you can use this code in Jupyter Notebook, in Python in Excel. You can use also it in Google Colab, in Azure, in Visual Studio. So you can use it in all of this. One trick maybe, when you ask ChatGPT, explain that you are using Jupyter Notebook rather than Google Colab, rather than Microsoft Visual Studio, because there are like some really, really small, I will say like specificities, and it's better to explain straight away, I'm using this tool.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I think probably one of the most popular questions we're getting in the chat right now is, what's the best LLM? You have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you have Gemini, you have Grok, all these different ones. Is it all ChatGPT? Is one better than the other? How do you kind of think about that?
Yeah. So you have to think that if tomorrow you want to go from New York to Boston, and let's say you drive, Josh, you decided to go with your wife and to drive. Well, you can use a normal car or a cabriolet, or maybe you have in 10 years, you have a family and you need actually a bigger car. But all of the cars will bring you, right? And especially if you are two, like 99% of the cars will bring you from New York to Boston. But one thing is, you first need to know how to drive. And that's one thing that people are asking a bit too early, is which tool should I use? No, first, can you use the LLM tools? And knowing how to use them is first learning the prompt techniques, like I showed in the video or in my course as well. And those prompt techniques are really important. And then after, you need to know how to use it with financial data, like an example I showed you. And once you know that, then you can start picking which tool are the best. For me, my favorite one is ChatGPT, because it always has the first feature before all of the others. Like now you have ChatGPT Canva, where you can basically select the text you want to change inside. You have the O1 preview model, where you have the reflection inside. You can upload the data. There are so many features, but if you are already in the Google environment, then Gemini is also good enough. If your company is using Microsoft, then it's much easier for all of the IT team to just like have an additional line in their IT contract with Microsoft to have OpenAI inside Copilot, rather than create a new contract with OpenAI and having a long process of negotiation. So that's why all of the LLM tools right now, it moves so fast that all of them are anyway better than what we got 6 months ago. But if you really want to have the best, my take is ChatGPT, but it doesn't change for 95% of the use cases. All of them are good enough.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll see how long it stays that way. If ChatGPT can continue to stay at the top, we have the AI wars going on right now. We got a really popular question here. A lot of people upvoted it from Lily. She said, I'm learning Power BI. Am I wasting my time? Should I just learn how to master ChatGPT? I think a lot of people are wondering the same, not only about Power BI, but just about their industry. There are people who are thinking of getting into coding. And then you saw Devin that may replace coders. Should we still be learning these things, or should we just get familiar with ChatGPT to be able to answer it? And before you answer, I just want to share, Mark had a really good answer that I want to kick things off with. Mark, by the way, I owe you a response to your email. You sent me a very thoughtful email. For those of you who are part of my newsletter, I do my best to respond to each and every email, and I appreciate them. So Mark mentioned Power BI or Power Query are essential for managing data and tables, especially if you have large data sets. Learn ChatGPT too. So what would you answer to that, Nicholas?
So what you need to understand is, in ChatGPT, it's good for the individual user that wants to do a preliminary analysis. Power BI serves totally other purposes. It's for an organization where you have a standard dashboard, where you have standard reports, where many more people use it, where you want also the the single source of data. You want also the filtering, the drill down, the dynamic dashboards. And you don't have that right now in ChatGPT. And I don't think for a while you won't have it. Also, what has Power BI, you have all of the data connection with the database. So you can connect Power BI to your ERP, to your data lake, to even internet with some of other source of data, and then have the data team with the ETL process that will transform this data to make them available for dashboards. And this is not available right now on ChatGPT. I don't think it's their focus as well. What I think will come, however, is that ChatGPT will, in the next 6 months, will have contracts with company to have APIs, where in these APIs, they will be able to connect to the data of, for example, Salesforce or Facebook's analytics, or maybe one of the other ERP, maybe with Microsoft Dynamics, they will create a connection where if you enter your login, you can access to some data inside your Microsoft Dynamics. But then you will still need to have to query the data, to prompt, and it will not be the same way than a dashboard where it's well thought, it's a standard, and nobody is asking, how did you build that? But more, let's look at the data and the insights from the data. So my answer is continue to learn it, but use ChatGPT also to make Power BI, because it will be much faster. You can code with ChatGPT the DAX, and also it can give you insight if you have problem to build your dashboard. For example, if you want to represent sales over time or sales per representative, maybe it will give you the insights of which charts are the best to represent that.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that. Right now, this has in many ways been information overload to me, and I feel like it's a little overwhelming. There's so much information really out there, and how to really stay up to date, maybe on my own time. It reminds me very much that you actually have some resources on this. Do you want to talk a little bit about those resources? I have one of them pulled up right here. Let me do a quick screen share.
Yeah. So I have a course where Josh asked me if he could get a discount for the community. So we decided together to do that for you today, where you can get my course for 50%. And in there, you really go from being a beginner at using those LLMs and ChatGPT specifically to being a pro in just 2 hours and 30 minutes. And it's really concrete. All of the examples, like how I show examples, I do it this way, because I really believe we in finance should use these LLMs much more than what we are doing right now. And, each of us as a person, if we learn how to use that, then we'll make also the finance teams much better, much more valuable. You will learn inside, for example, how to use it to write emails. So like the examples we did with Josh, also how to do it for financial analysis, how to use ChatGPT to write memos, internal control documents, how to use it to make PowerPoint presentations. And also one thing I really like is how to use ChatGPT as your consultant to solve problems. So for ones that you can have McKinsey or BCG consultant for free, then I'm showing you that in the course.
Awesome. And on top of a course, Nicholas, you also have a community where people get access not only to you, but also dozens and dozens of other finance and accounting professionals who are trying to crack this code and stay ahead of the curve, stay up to date with everything happening in AI and finance. I know I'm part of the community. I think I was your very first ever purchase, which is really amazing. And I've attended a bunch of your workshops, and I'm just amazed at the people who you bring to actually present these workshops. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we jump into the rest of the questions?
Yeah, sure. So what happened now after all of my courses is, because it's moving so fast, I thought, I wish I could tell that to the people that took my course live before. So that's why I created the community, which is the AI Finance Club. And basically what you have inside is a path first from beginner, intermediate, and advanced, where you get first, in the first months, you will learn how to become really an advanced user of ChatGPT. And every month, what you get in the AI Finance Club is first masterclass. So during 1.5 hours, we are together live, and I teach you how to use AI for finance, and I bring experts. We also review the AI tools. I give you each month the most important news that are relevant for finance. You have also access to all of my video courses. And one thing I really like is to take one finance process and to look how to use AI in this finance process.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left and we have a ton of questions to get to. So maybe we try a bit of a lightning round here. Let's see if we could answer with 30 to 60 seconds all the questions that we have here. I think one of the biggest questions that I want to understand is, what do we see the next 12 months looking like? I know it's hard to predict, but what do you think is on the roadmap? What do you think us finance professionals will be able to do in just 12 months from now with AI?
So one thing that is going to come for 2025, the buzzword will be not anymore AI, but more AI agents. And the AI agents will be mini robots that are programmed to do some task autonomously. And instead of saying that AI is going to take over our job, it's more that AI is going to take over the task that we don't want to have as humans. Because like, who really wants to have to validate receipts of travel and restaurant bills? Like, I guess nobody. So, so those kind of tasks will start to have agents that go through that. And we'll have a platform where you could hire an agent. And this agent is going to work with you in your team to do those tasks. So this is going to come in 2025. And the way to have these agents work, the only thing that is missing right now is the connection between those big LLM tools and your own productive environment. Because you could see that I had to copy the code from ChatGPT to work in my own environment. And the day that ChatGPT, Google, Microsoft start to connect with all of the ERPs, with all of the SaaS, they start to connect through APIs, then you will start to have those agents that can help you do some task and go to pull the data. And one example, because somebody asked from SAP, there was a demo of SAP on Wednesday where you could query the data on saying, I need the information for this customer, like what is the latest invoice, what is not paid, and then from there you could prepare the email to send to your customer a reminder with all of the information. And that is really what is going to come, is those agents that are either integrated in the ERP or that comes on top of the ERP tools.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. This one is a bit of a two-part question. I'm really trying to understand the best way to get my Excel files integrated with AI. And I know we went over, you could take snapshots and send that. You spoke a little bit about Python as well. I'm curious, I know Microsoft is working on Copilot, and I've seen them tease out some features, and I haven't really been so impressed. What's your take on the best way to get your data in Excel, which is by far the most popular tool for finance and accounting professionals, even just people in business as a whole? What's the best way to really integrate it with AI? And if you're going to share Python, which I imagine, I'm a little overwhelmed with how to learn Python. How do you think about, like, what's the low-hanging fruit to quickly pick up some skills there?
Yeah, so I agree that right now Copilot was pushed out by Microsoft with the big pressure from the public because people wanted that. And you have to understand that the program of Excel is so complicated that AI cannot really code Excel to get what they to get to do something that to get that Excel does what you want. So right now, when you go in Copilot, it's quite good when you are not good in Excel. And I guess here in finance, we have like 300 people. I'm sure like 80% of you are quite comfortable with Excel. So you will be frustrated because you will spend more time asking Copilot to do a formula than to write the formula yourself. But it's going, I think, to change really fast. And now with Python in Excel, you actually need the Copilot to code for you the Python code. And that's actually the big advantage of Copilot, is to do something you cannot do yourself. And so only use Copilot when you are not good in Excel and you want to do a dashboard or pivot table that, like, in 3 clicks, it's done. So that's quite good. Or if you want to use Python in Excel, it's also a really good use case. But right now, we are not there yet at Excel level. The best way for me to really integrate AI in Excel is two things. Either first, as a user, to learn how to use it better, is to ask LLM how to do a model or to do a calculation in Excel and to get the step-by-step. The second part is to use Python in Excel to start doing forecasting with AI. And now we are not talking anymore about the AI like ChatGPT, where it's really good with writing. We are more talking about AI learning about the data to make a forecast or to identify trend. And that's what we call machine learning. And especially you have some models that are available everywhere. And this is not anymore for data scientists. Now that you have Python in Excel, you can actually do your own forecasting with AI thanks to this.
I think building off that, a lot of questions that we got in the chat today was, it was cool to show an Excel file and have it all tied in and you feed that to AI, but a lot of us don't have those Excel skills, don't have the time, and they want to know, can an AI create these dashboards that I just showed you? Can we remove that step where you have to have a separate Excel file? What would that look like?
Yes. So what you have right now in most of the new FP&A tools, you have insights. Well, they call that insights, meaning that based on structured data. So imagine you have flat tables that are saved somewhere in your ERP tool or in the FP&A tool. Then it will create graphs based on the data. And a bit the same way that if today you start upload an Excel file that is structured, it needs to be structured, that the data is structured with correct headers. Upload it inside ChatGPT and ask really like randomly, or show me any potential analysis. And you will see some great analysis because inside of a quantity, you can have great analysis, but then you will see also 60, 50% of analysis that are not relevant or that are not really pretty. And right now, that's where the AI is it can run faster than us all of this analysis, because it's like having 100 pivot table done in 10 seconds. But from this 100 pivot table, then maybe only 3 are relevant or 20. And that's where we are now, like to pick what are the most relevant from these 100, we're not there yet, but it's going to come.
I think very similar to what we've been talking about. Jack just asked this. He said, I found that ChatGPT is not good with math. How can I use ChatGPT with projections that are accurate? Is it what you were saying earlier with just integrating with Python, or is there another?
It was not good with math. Really, like now it changed a lot because it was a big focus. Now, because like us, if I give you a list with 100 lines and I ask you to sum up manually these 100 lines, you will have a hard time. You will have to reflect, you will make errors. But if now I ask you, take any tool, but just give me the sum of these 100 lines, you will go to Excel, you will just write sum, and then you will take all of the 100 cells and you will have the right results. And ChatGPT knows actually how to do the formula the right way. It just doesn't have the, I would say, like the engine behind to do the calculation, because it's not a calculator. It's more a probabilistic model. And when we have that in mind and we know that, then you need to understand that what I showed you is ChatGPT doesn't calculate. ChatGPT asks Python to calculate for itself. And then you can audit. You can see, is it the right calculation that ChatGPT did that I really wanted? Oh yeah, this is the right one. Oh no, like ChatGPT took all of the countries, but I wanted all of the countries except China. So here I need to adapt and to ask ChatGPT to correct its calculation, and then I will get a good calculation. But the calculation is not done by ChatGPT, it's done inside Python. The same way that you will either use your calculator or Excel or Python to do a calculation, ChatGPT does, like us, use the tool that is best for it and not itself, because ChatGPT is only good to generate. Understand, really, like generate and not calculate.
So interesting, because on the one hand, you have this incredible engine that could like spit out paragraphs and paragraphs, could literally write books in like a matter of seconds or minutes. And then feeding it some really basic math, at least from where we were, it was like a completely different story. So I'm very excited for when that ultimately the gap gets bridged. I don't know if it's going to be through Copilot, through ChatGPT, or maybe through something else that we haven't really spoken about yet. So we got about 5 more minutes. So guys, please do continue posting all of your questions so we can try to get to as many as possible. I'm curious of just like all the different now areas of finance and accounting for how it can help. So we got 2 questions. One person asked, how could you use this with auditing? And a lot of people are still a little bit nervous about the security issues, even though what you mentioned is really just like a cloud solution like AWS. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that. And someone also asked, like, how could it be helpful with nonprofits? So maybe when you think about like industries as a whole, how do you think about that?
So audit first. I just talked 2 days ago with the founder of this company, who is now focusing more and more on helping audit firms. And with so it's Trillion, and I have like no affiliation with him, so he's just like somebody really smart, and I like to interact with him. And I remember 6 months ago when I saw his tool, I knew that the best was about audit because they have different type of products, but now they are focusing mainly on audit because they have really good functions. And what they have, let me show you, they have 4 functions. They have first the data match. So meaning that you will see that you can do tests of details within their tool. It will give you like the samples. It will help you to do the test of details. The second one, as if you have auditors here, if you remember when you had to print the financial statements and to tick all of the numbers and to reconcile and to look at last year version or to look at the general ledger, the trial balance, this can do all of this for you. The third one, it will also extract data from PDF. And the last one, you can ask questions about audit standards or accounting standards. So this is really like a tool that is evolving almost every 2 weeks. And I cannot wait to see like how good they are going to help the audit industry. And they already have like audit clients. So this is for me right now, the best tool that is really using AI for audit. Then
Awesome.
as a question we had for
Nonprofits. And then a lot of people also are asking about reconciliations.
Yeah. So for the nonprofit, I think because those AI tools are not really expensive, I think it will help you move much faster and also build your own tool. Because with Python, and to explain with a reconciliation, you could build, if you use ChatGPT and Python, you could build a machine that is doing the reconciliation for you. And how does it work is basically in Python, you can have an algorithm that reads PDF, that extracts the data from the PDF. Then after you can have the rule-based formula, because it's not AI, it's just rule-based, where you can try first to match. And then after that, for what is not reconciled, you can use a formula that is called fuzzy matching, F-U-Z-Z-Y matching, which basically just do like what we do as humans. If something looks really, really similar, for example, like the name of a company that is called Your CFO Guy, well, just next to it is not Your CFO Guy, but Your CFO. And then the probability that this is the same companies is really, really high. So the fuzzy matching will match that, and then it will be reconciled. And that you can program that in Python and do that. You will let then Python do the work, I think like at 90% or 95%, and just focus on the last 5%.
Awesome. Well, we're just about coming up on time. We have 2 more minutes. I think it would be helpful if we just get an overall summary from you, answering a lot of the questions that we got today were around these here. So first, working in finance and accounting, what do I need to be aware of that AI can do? What is the easiest way to integrate it with my Excel files? And then how do I ensure this all remains confidential and I don't all of a sudden have this huge lawsuit for a data security breach?
Yeah. So if you are working in finance and accounting, I think we have access to all of the data of the company. We have access to all of the departments. We have access to management. So we know the strategy. And on top, we are really good with technology. So you should start using these tools. And if you can use it within your company with an official contract, It's good like this, you don't have to worry. But even if you just have to use your phone, you can ask a lot of questions about, like, let me show you quickly something. You could just ask in a few seconds, like, how can I do a reconciliation in Excel? Give me all the steps and formulas. And here, I didn't give any confidential information. And when I have this, I can still progress and be much faster, because now I go from a problem to already a solution. And because I didn't give too much information is quite general, but if I will give more information, saying in my bank statement I have these columns, in my general ledger I have these columns, or I have this type of problem, then it will help me much more than if I just stay generic. You can see already here, I am using it for a proper task. I can transfer that to Excel, and I don't give any confidential information.
Awesome. This was so helpful. I'm amazed at the turnout that we had. We had over 350 people join and close to 1,400 people actually register. I want to do a lot more of these. I want to do these a lot more often. I imagine the majority of you are already subscribed to my newsletter and to Nicholas's newsletter. This is just such a fun industry to be in. We're so grateful to be able to provide all this content. So if anyone has any follow-up questions that they want, you're more than welcome to email me, josh@yourcfoguy.com. And where can they reach you, Nicholas?
So just hello@nicolasboucher.online.
Awesome. And then I know you also have a YouTube channel. You're starting to post very rigorously there. I as well also have a YouTube channel. So I'd love for everyone to go ahead and check out those channels as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out of your Friday to join this really relevant session in today's fast-paced world of AI. I can't wait for the next one. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys all soon.
Thank you, everybody.